Today, China's currency falls to a 16-month low. Trump escalates his threats of US territorial expansion, and Germany pushes to relax EU sanctions on Syria. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Wednesday, the 8th of January, 2025. Our main story today is China's currency, the yuan, has fallen to a 16-month low, reaching 7.3301 per US dollar, a level not seen since September 2023. This decline follows trader unease over Donald Trump's upcoming trade policies, especially his threats to impose significant tariffs on Chinese imports. The US president-elect has said that he would impose tariffs as high as 60% on China. But despite efforts from the Chinese central bank and stock exchanges to address investor concerns, the yuan continues to struggle. Since Trump's victory in the US elections, the yuan, which is tightly controlled, has repeatedly plummeted to multi-month lows. With just 2 weeks remaining until Trump embarks on his second term, China's markets are feeling the strain. Mainland bond yields have fallen, and stock markets have exhibited volatility, with the CSI 300 blue chip index experiencing its largest weekly loss in over 2 years last week, dropping by 5%. On Monday, the index fell to its lowest level since September, down at least 0.9% before closing with a 0.2% loss. These currency fluctuations come amid a backdrop of significant economic challenges for China. Economic activity has slowed markedly, lagging well below historical trends. Household spending, which accounts for approximately 40% of the country's GDP, remains considerably below the global average. Additionally, the property market is grappling with a prolonged slump, having seen prices decrease by roughly 8% from their peak. The government's tightening grip on the private sector has also contributed to capital outflows, with an estimated 15,200 Chinese millionaires expected to relocate in 2024. Whilst this doesn't represent a mass exodus, as China was home to about 6.2 million millionaires in 2021, it does signal a concerning trend for the economy. Beijing, grappling with deepening deflationary pressures in the economy stemming from low household and investor confidence, has rolled out several stimulus packages aimed at revitalizing struggling sectors. However, these efforts have largely fallen short of expectations. Last year, anticipated major stimulus initiatives were replaced with a significant restructuring of local government debt. Although this did provide some relief for local governments, it delivered little in terms of broader economic rejuvenation. On the other hand, many economists believe that Beijing is holding off on announcing more spending plans, while it waits for Trump's inauguration on January the 20th, to get more clarity on potential tariffs. Essentially, the central bank appears to be in a wait-and-see mode, and maintains a steady exchange rate, as any slight easing of the fix could risk a larger sell-off of China's currency. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing tomorrow. Plus, if you want to support the channel like Custo, then consider joining the TLDR daily membership program for just $1.99. With just under 2 weeks until he takes office, US President-elect Donald Trump has escalated his rhetoric on US territorial expansion, refusing to rule out using economic or military pressure to bring the Panama Canal and Greenland into US hands. Trump deployed the hostile rhetoric at what was initially billed as an announcement of data center investment, but Trump took the opportunity to cover wide-ranging topics. He said that the US needed the Panama Canal and Greenland, the latter of which is an autonomous territory of Denmark, for economic security reasons. On Greenland, Trump said he would tariff Denmark at a very high level if it resisted putting the Arctic island up for sale. Denmark is a fellow NATO member and a member of the European Union, and has, alongside the Greenlandic government, rebuffed Trump's demands to buy Greenland. At the press conference, Trump was asked if he would rule out using economic or military coercion, and said, "I'm not going to commit to that." Trump also continued to set his sights on Canada, criticizing US imports of Canadian goods like lumber and dairy products, and saying that the US spends billions on protecting Canada. Trump described the US-Canada border as an artificially drawn line, and said that Canada should be a US state, and that he could use economic force to make Canada a state, saying, "Canada and the United States, that would really be something." Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that there isn't a snowball's chance in hell that the two will join. Elsewhere in the bizarre press conference, Trump suggested that the Gulf of Mexico should be renamed the Gulf of America. In other news, Germany is spearheading an initiative for the European Union to relax its sanctions on Syria. For context, the EU, US, UK, and other Western governments imposed tough sanctions on Syria following Bashar al-Assad's crackdown on pro-democracy protests back in 2011, which spiraled into a full-blown civil war. German officials are reportedly proposing to ease specific EU penalties in exchange for reforms from the new leadership under Ahmed al-Sharaa, a former Islamist militant. The proposals include relaxing banking and energy sector restrictions to alleviate power shortages and facilitate financial flows. It seems likely that these proposals will gain support from the remaining EU member states during an upcoming foreign ministers meeting in Brussels. This comes after the US on Monday issued a 6-month sanction exemption for transactions with some Syrian government bodies to ease the flow of humanitarian assistance, address the country's power shortages, and allow personal remittances. Meta chief Mark Zuckerberg has announced a wide range of policy changes seen as part of his attempt to repair his company's relationship with Donald Trump before he takes office later this month. Zuckerberg said that Meta would end its third-party fact-checking program and move to a community note-style approach, as seen on X, formerly known as Twitter. Meta will also, quote, allow more speech on its platforms by, quote, getting rid of a number of restrictions on topics like immigration, gender identity, and gender. It will also move its safety and content moderation teams out of California to Texas, and will, quote, work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The changes will affect the Facebook, Instagram, and Threads social media platforms, which have more than 3 billion users globally. In another Trump-friendly move, Meta will add UFC chief executive Dana White, a longtime friend of Donald Trump, to the company's board, and has elevated Republican Joel Kaplan as head of global affairs, replacing Nick Clegg. It's hard to see Zuckerberg's actions as anything other than a response to Trump's election, and it represents a wider shift in the tech industry to get on good terms with the incoming president, who's previously levied heavy criticism against platforms like Meta, which 4 years ago banned Trump from Facebook in the aftermath of the January 6th attack. While Trump has reacted positively to Meta's changes, many journalists, misinformation researchers, and organizations criticize the move. The Public Citizen nonprofit, for example, warned that users are about to see a lot more dangerous misinformation in their feeds.
We're heading into 2025 with a whole new group of politicians, business leaders, and influential people. The question is then, who'll come out on top? Who is the world's most influential person? That's what we're trying to find out with our most influential person list, which we need your help with. If you head to the link in the description, you can vote for your own personal top 10, helping to shape our overall ranking. Your vote is super important, and voting closes on January the 15th. So do your democratic duty and cast your ballot for the world's most influential person. Also, if you're wondering why we're doing this, it's for the next issue of our magazine, Too Long. That's because the next issue will contain the entire list, as well as fascinating articles about the top 25. Those won't just be boring profiles about each of the people either. There'll be interesting stories about who these people really are, where their power truly resides, and how they wield their influence. If you want to pre-order a copy of the magazine now, you can click the link in the description to pick up a copy. Oh, and if you pick up a premium copy of the magazine, you'll also get access to our internal award ceremony, where the team will first learn and react to your votes live. Plus, you'll get to watch TLDR team members sit down to discuss their lists and fight it out and try and agree for once. Plus, you'll get access to our behind-the-scenes podcast, The Bullpen, and your name printed in the thank you section of the magazine. Anyway, find out more, cast your vote, or order a copy by clicking the various links in the description.